Okay, folks, coming at you with next week's stocks to watch. Before I do that, we started a chat room this week called Trader's Den. Pretty cool. Had a nice little turnout. It's not an alert service. It's all about idea generation and trying to help each other become better traders. We did have some great alerts in the room. We did play. Uh, I had a fantastic week myself, and I know that there were some others that had some nice trades within the room. Uh, cool place to hang out. If you're interested, there's a tab on the blog, free chat room. Come on in, check it out, hang out, share some ideas. Look forward to seeing you there. Enough about that. Let's go ahead and get started with the stocks to watch for next week. So, one of the big winners and one that we were all over in the chat room early was this RWLK, which had a tremendous run. And look, it's getting a little parabolic. There were shorts that were trying to short this thing on the first day of its run. The news was pretty substantial. However, it does not yet indicate, it hasn't the news has not turned into sales so far, but it was a good FDA announcement or acceptance of their product. So you could see a potential continuation on this thing. You could see this could set up for a short, but this is one of the stocks. I love the long term story. I own this, so I traded it this week. I own it in my long term hold account. I sold some in the long term hold as well because it just went too far too fast. When it went over 15, I took some off the table there. But I do love this story for the long term. So, this is a stock that I think could be very exciting for years to come. I think it's in its infancy stage. And real quick, I will show you also. This was actually Buddy's speculative stock of the year. It's the same industry as RWLK, and of course, this is going to freeze up on me. I love it when it does this. So we're just going to kill a little time as we wait for the chart to come back up. And of course, you know what I'm going to do? Okay. I am going to put this on pause until I get the chart come back up. Hold on. Okay, I'm back. EKSO. So, that RWLK is basically it's a exoskeleton system for, people that have been injured, veterans, so forth and so on. And EKSO is in the same industry. So, RWLK got their approval from the FDA. EKSO is in, they're also trying to get their system approved by the FDA. And I do imagine that if at some point when EKSO announces that they also got approval, it could react in kind as to how Rewalk reacted. So I actually built on my position at a $1.22 in EKSO. There has been a hit piece out on this. The guys like to short and distort on this particular name, and but I think they have another whole industrial division that's also very exciting. That you could be getting some interesting announcements from in the near future. It's a very spec play. Look, if there's no guarantee that they will get FDA approval. As a matter of fact, if they don't, this thing could go to a nickel. So very spec play, but it is worth one to keep an eye on. If RWLK continues to run, I think EKSO could run in sympathy. Trox, this is one I took for a day trade, and I still have some lottos as well. I've been watching this one for a while. There was a tremendous amount of insider buying, over $10 until $11. A lot of debt there. This thing could have been hit by this high yield concern. This would be maybe one of those companies. They just raised, I think they're titanium dioxide. They just increased the price selling it, and that's what created this spike on Friday. I think potentially, that was on good volume on a weak tape. You could see follow through, potentially a $4 holla, $4 roll. That's why I'm holding a few shares. into next week, but it could also set up again for a nice day trade. QTM, we talked about this one in the room. There's been some insider buying in this one as well in the 84 cent and 90 cent range. Fairly decent purchases. It bounced off of this area of support, and it could potentially go up and test the $1 holla. I think it's worth looking at for either a red to green or a potential continuation and a test of the dollar holla. GMLP shipping, those names got annihilated. This one is fairly interesting. It closed right at the $10 holla. Just seeing if maybe you get some kind of follow through, a break over 10, some kind of a snapback in the name. I mean, this isn't one of my favorite setups. The shippers have been beaten up, and maybe that continues. But thinking maybe we get a little bounce, some day trade action. Watt. This one just had an analyst come out and put a pretty lofty little price target on this bad boy. And I thought the action was interesting on Friday with some fairly decent relative volume. Closed nearly at the high of the day. Coming up into price resistance here. If it can take out 850 with conviction, I think you go up and maybe test the 950 range, right? I mean, that seems to be an area where it's been drawn before. So that could be a nice little move. It's a very thin name. Be careful. Don't go chasing that sucker. BBRY, look, thick stock, very thick stock. Reported earnings on Friday. Did well with their software division, kind of getting away from the hardware. Interesting story. CEO seems to be doing all the right things. This is probably more of a swing trade or a long-term hold than it is a day trade, although it would have served nicely for a day trade on Friday. So, maybe look for a potential continuation. It closed above the 200-day moving average. It'd be cool if it did like a little red to green move, pulled back to like 835 or so and then bounced. But I think, this one is one you may want to look to add to your long-term hold account. OCUL, CEO bought some at 825. It's already had a pretty nice little run. But it keeps tapping in this area. It looks like it wants to try and take out the $11 holla. Potentially, it's got this gap to fill up to $13.40 or so. Could be a nice little play. I mean, it had some decent volume on Friday. Look for a potential continuation next week. OMER, coming up and testing this trend line right below the $15 holla. I mean, this one's okay. I just think that this is kind of an interesting spot. It had some positive action on decent volume on Friday, which was a weak tape. See if maybe we can get a break over that trend line, take out 15 bucks or so. Could be a nice day trade. CNIT, China name, highly speculative. Held up well. Did okay on Friday. It's been holding above the $1 holla. Big pop, pulled back, lower volume. You're looking for volume to pick up and take out that trend line. Could come back up and test somewhere around $1.50 or so. That's a pretty nice little move. So, I mean, really, really spec name. Day trade only. I wouldn't be holding that sucker overnight. OHRP, another one that did fairly well in a weak tape on Friday. Flirting with the $5 holla. Potentially a big spot here. It does have a ways to go just to get to fill. I mean, look, not even to fill this gap, but just to come up here to this price resistance around $6.70. It's a pretty big move. And it's got a fairly compelling little look right here, a little cup. Maybe put in a little handle here, and then we go. But not bad. Worth keeping an eye on. VTAE. What I found, another one that had a decent day on Friday. You've had a recent 50-100 crossover. You closed above the trend line. 17 seems to be the spot. If you can take out 17 with conviction, it looks like you could have a pretty nice little run. It's tap, 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 tap. So looking for it to take out 17 with conviction might get involved. TLM, insider buying going on here, a fairly decent amount, right? 40,000 shares at $6.76, another 10,000 shares, $6.18. Utilities is kind of where, everybody's suggesting that you need to go run and hide if the markets roll over. Good volume on Friday, 3 million shares, potentially, and then you see these insider buys. This could be an interesting area to get involved. It may just go up and test the $7 holler, test this trend line, and then fail. But even if even for a move to 7, that's a pretty decent little clip. Worth keeping an eye on. TLM, OCLR, another stock that held up. Now look, it's up 1, 2, 3 days in a row. Decent volume on Friday, but it's coming up into this resistance. This is a big spot, looks like, right here, this $3.60. And you can take it out with conviction. Maybe we get some decent follow-through. I think this is a fairly thin name. It had some insider buying at 275. I know the sector itself is fairly hot. So OCLR, look for a potential continuation on that. TXMD. Bio that gapped and has been consolidating right around this $9 range, looking for a trend line break, maybe go back up and test the $10 holla. It did hold up fairly well on decent volume on Friday. GLNG, this is not one of my favorites. I was looking at this as a potential snapback play. It might need more time. This might have more selling to come, but I thought maybe for a snapback play, this one would be interesting to keep an eye on. Don't go chasing this one, but it's worth having on the radar. MANT, this one, announced on Friday that they got a $5 billion award contract, and it's a pretty big contract. Balance sheet looks good on this company. The way I was looking at this is that maybe this 2980, they're right at the 200-day, would be an interesting place to start dipping a toe. It's basically been a pretty big area of support or resistance, however you want to look at it. Let's back it out to the weekly. It's a pretty big area. So I was thinking maybe that would be an area to get involved. I mean, if you look at this thing on the daily, look at what it tried to do, right? It tried to break out over this downtrend, this long-term downtrend. Let me back out to the weekly again. Tried to break above that downtrend and wound up failing, right? But a lot of times to break through that, to have a trend reversal, it takes a couple of times to get through there. So, like I said, the balance sheet looks fairly good. Cash flow looks fairly good. You're near an area of price support. I was kind of thinking, maybe if you got in here, I could start to scale in here somewhere around $29.70. If it pulled back to this $28 area, I may add. I don't know. I mean, this one I am considering for a long-term hold, starting to build a position in it. That's a pretty sizable contract. It didn't react to the news. Obviously it ran into the news. But, now that it's been announced and formalized, I don't know. I think this thing is compelling. And I may look to start getting involved in it. And there is one last one. And this one might need a bit more time. That's not that. SRPT. SRPT. Had a big gap up. It's been consolidating. It might need more time to consolidate. And I guess the reason why it's on here is because it did hold up fairly well on Friday in a weak tape. And, if it can take out $38 with conviction, I think it does go back up and test 42 or so. I think it's worth keeping an eye on this SRPT. And that's it. Oh, the other one too, Disney. Of course, I will be watching that one very closely. And, I think the oil sector is starting, or energy sector is starting to get interesting to me again. And I thought it was very, very interesting the way that the solars decoupled from the action in oil, because they have been, moving in tandem for quite a while now, and to see the solars break that correlation was very interesting. I think you should keep an eye out on that again next week. Okay, that's it, folks. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, and I will see you next week, and hopefully we'll see you in the chat room. All right, have a good one.